Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host tonight for a live podcast from Southern California. This podcast you found on Facebook, Fighting CPS, Bob Pace Fighting CPS. And it's televised all through the United States, or it should be podcast all through the United States, and the countries out there. Yes, I said countries because we've had people text in from countries. We had one person talk from a country as a guest. So, CPS is a big problem. And what is it? It's the Child Protection Services, a branch of social services that have been in existence since 1853. And it's supposed to be taking care of our children from neglect and abuse, and also family reunification, bringing the family back together, especially if there's been hiccups by the parents. Studies have shown that the best parents are the biological parents. Children need their biological fathers and mothers. Foster care is not the answer. And I know some of the relatives mean well and stuff. It still boils down to parents. But if they can't, then relatives are the next back in line, not foster care. Foster care is very corrupt. They lie, they hurt my son. I had a CPS case, an awful CPS case. I lost my daughter. And that's how sad it was. I lost my daughter. So I'm telling you this. I'm here to do my best to help you, to support you, to understand and grieve what you're going through, and maybe give you some clues of how to get out of this mess of CPS. You have to be prepared because they're not professional people. They really are. It's very, very sad to say they really are out there to traffic your children illegally because they say it's imminent danger. Your child needs to be taken into custody because it's an imminent danger. And every case seems to be an imminent danger. And I've talked to over 100 cases, and it's sad but true. It's sad but true. They all have something in common. Their children not be returned to them. The CPS is ignoring them. They're tricking them. They're duping them. I was duped so bad. Now, this podcast is an interactive podcast. We have people that can text messages and text me and tell me about their CPS case, and I'll try to help them. All I ask is you put your name and your state and your city that you're texting from, so I get an idea where the problem is. It seems like the problem is everywhere. And I know it's really hard because a lot of you are suffering with lack of funding, no income. Maybe there is one of you that doesn't want to be a partner anymore, a spouse or whatever. There may be some medical conditions. You may be homeless. All those should not take away your children. They should not take away your children. Now, again, if you want to text in a comment, I'd love to hear from you. All you do is put your name, the state, and the city. If you're from a country, put the city and the country. The city and the country. I've had people from Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana, and Mexico. And I had one guest on the show that was talking live from Mexico City. He wanted his $2 bad, so bad. And to welcome everybody out there that wants to talk about CPS and what they've done wrong, or even what they've done right. I'd be so thrilled if we have a happy story. But we have so many people that have suffered so much. And it's wrong. It's wrong. We have our first text message. Samantha Blank Seal. She has a question. I'm not sure what city or state she's from, but you can add that. She puts down here, if my grandchildren were adopted by the foster parents, can we, as biological grandparents, get them back? Well, if they've been adopted by the foster parents, did the parents give up their custody, their medical rights, and their education rights to the children? There is called a partnership, a tutor partnership with foster parents, but I don't know what the relationship. Depends what the court order says. Also, there's a statute of limitations. And it's so sad because grandparents are left out of seeing their grandchildren grow up, because usually when foster parents adopt them, they have the child divorce their parents, seal the birth certificate, and create a new name. CPS does that, not the child. The child's too small. Not smart enough yet and too young. My daughter was, I can talk from firsthand. She divorced us for no reason. I never knew the reason. And it's sad. It hurts. It hurts when your child divorces you, when you've raised them for 12 years and you spend all that time and money and give them great education and good programs and lots of love. She's 21 now. Still don't hear from her. It's sad. People are so mean. They don't care about you if you're a human being or not. Well, Samantha, if you can tell me why they take them, your grandchildren, did you have custody of your grandchildren? Did you have custody of them? What city and state are you from, Samantha? If they are adopted, it's going to be very hard for biological grandparents to be involved, because once they're adopted, they think that brothers and sisters and relatives don't exist anymore. Okay, you didn't have guardianship. Did the mother of the children decide to give you the children? Is that what happened? Was that your daughter? Let me tell you, the second thing is interacting with this podcast. You can call in right now at 626-698-0990. That's my office number. When you ring it, you become live and you can talk on the show, and it may be easier for me to answer your questions. My phone is right here, and so it's all charged up and ready to go. So if you that want to call in about your case, feel free to do so. It's 626-698-0990. 0990. And I'd love to hear from you, Samantha. You can sit here and talk on the show, and I have to answer your questions. So you must be the grandmother of your grandchildren. And what city and state? I still don't see a city and state. And if you don't have it, it's okay. The show is no pressure. There's no pressure. Now, if you want to be on the show later, you can email my producer, Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentdavis.com. Now, I have 14 podcasts a week. One in the morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The other one at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can pick evening or mornings, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, whatever day, and tell Grace you want to be on my show, and she'll set you up. We use the StreamYard application. It's broadcast live, and if you don't want your picture, you don't have to have your picture. You can just be your voice. Okay, so you're in Oregon now. So you're calling from Oregon, and your grandbabies live in California. So are you going to call in, Samantha? Yeah, if you call in right now, I'll hold that spot for you. Now, anyone else listening, I welcome you all. I know what you're going through. It's a heartache. It's a terrible experience, what you're going through. And I have a couple things that can help you. Now, you probably heard my podcast before, but I try to make it a little bit different. But I do talk about some things very important each time. Are 3 rules that I have. 3 rules. And one of the first rules you need to do is when you first start a CPS case, you should be, or you must be, represented by an attorney. Because social services is a nightmare. It is so bad. Think about you're going to need your heart worked on, or you need a part replaced in your heart, or something else wrong with your heart. Are you going to do it yourself? Are you going to cut yourself open and try to fix your heart? Are you going to have a lay person do that? Or someone who's not really medically qualified, or a beginning doctor or something? No, you're going to get a professional. Someone that's taken medical classes, done an internship, and been mentored as a doctor. Someone that you could trust opening up your heart. Same thing goes for CPS. You can't trust them. It's a quagmire of spaghetti. It's like you're Alice in Wonderland falling in a rabbit hole through all these doors that never go anywhere. And you sit there and you just look at yourself and say, what has happened? And they run over everywhere with you. They do things they're not supposed to. They will violate your constitutional and your civil rights. They do that all the time. Samantha from Oregon, are you going to call in, or are you going to schedule another time with email? Okay. So the phone line is open for anybody to call in. So as I was saying about a medical doctor, professional medical doctor, do open heart surgery, you need a professional family law attorney to work on your case. That's someone that's experienced with CPS, fighting them and winning them and getting the children back. That's the kind of family law attorney you need to find. And you should really find 10 of them. And after 10, you want to narrow it down to 5. And then you want to call all 5 and see which one is the best for your case, which one you have chemistry with. And our attorney, Mr. Davis, would like to be one of them. He does a consultation for 30 minutes for $49.99. That's $50 for a half an hour. And he'll talk to your case. He'll give you strategies how to fight CPS and get your children back. He'll give strategies. He will talk to you. He's really good. He has podcasts. You can listen to him. But I'd call in, and you call into 888-888-6582 and ask to schedule a consultation with Mr. Davis. Tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And when you speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's important he knows the word's getting out. He's a trial attorney, and he also can sue CPS, both civil lawsuits, civil and constitution violations, state and federal laws. So after you talk to him, you may want to retain him. You'll have a retainer is based on the complexity of the case, how long the case has been going on. And then if it's in Northern California, it'll be a little bit more. Hello there. Is that Samantha?
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you, Samantha.
Hello?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me? Yeah.
Kind of hard to hear you. Your phone's breaking out.
Oh, okay. I'll try a little bit better there. Is that better? Is that better?
A little bit, not much.
Oh boy.
Let's see if I can get better reception somewhere.
That may be part of the problem. It's hard to do it, but anyway, it says you're from Coos Bay, Oregon.
Your phone's really messing up.
Okay, let me hit the speaker off and on again. You hear me now?
Hello?
Yeah, you hear me now? Okay. I'm going to try to call you back. Never had trouble with the phone before, but there's always a first time.
Hello?
Yeah, Samantha, is that better? Is this better, Samantha?
No, it is not. The reception is horrible up here.
Oh boy. Well, we can try our best.
Now I heard you.
Okay. Well,
That
welcome.
was a little bit better.
Welcome.
Let me get with the associates and make an appointment so that probably get some clarity over the phone.
Okay, you want to? Okay, if you tell me when you texted me, what were the allegations that the children were taken away from the mother?
I think it's the reception on my end up here because I can't hear you.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll try to go back to the live broadcast. Okay,
Okay.
the live broadcast. Thank you, Samantha. Well, shoot. That's not good. Her reception doesn't sound like it's coming through and she can't hear me. So, Samantha, if you still hear me, you can continue to write. Anybody else that wants to text in, please text in your comments or call at 626-698-0990. And I'd love to hear from you. So going back to rule number one, you need to get that attorney. Now, his retaining is also a little bit higher going to Northern California or one of the other states, but he will do out of state cases. So there's one of those 10 attorneys. I just started you. I give you contact, good attorney. He'll talk to you for $49.99. Now, people will say, oh, I got a public defender. Yeah, you have a public defender, but they're not going to help you. They're very new starting out. Some are not in family law. And, some of you wonder if they ever pass the bar exam. And they work for the judge and they work for the social workers. So you're not going to get a fair trial with your case. It's miserable. I know from experience. I had to hire an attorney. I had to mortgage my home to get that attorney. I had to sell my home. And that was hard. I used up all my savings. My 40 years of work savings I had for retirement were used up to sell my home. And what money I had saved, it was all used. It was all used. And my problem was I lost my job at the age of 60 in 2010, then had to deal with CPS for 5 years, tell them that no, there's nothing wrong with me or my family or my wife or anything, and that the allegations that were made by my in-laws were not true. They were not true. That's not true. And that's the thing about allegations. If I can take a moment there to talk about allegations. If I could talk to you about allegations, they are made by two kinds of people: professionals and laypersons. The laypersons are your relatives, your in-laws, your cousins, your friends, family members, anybody that not really working as a job dealing with children. The professionals are your policemen, firemen, um, nurses, doctors, teachers, counselors, people that work with children have to report by law if they suspect any neglect or abuse. They have to. And CPS will investigate within 24 hours of receiving the phone call. But I was speaking with someone, Kay, from Richmond, Kentucky. And she's with a group, and they're advocating to have none of this anonymous calling in thing anymore, because you see people do it anonymous and they call in. How do you know they're telling the truth? How do you know they're telling the truth? And what happens, and no matter where you're at, California, Maine, Florida, Texas, they're going to think the allegations are true. They're going to think the allegations are true, and they're going to steal your children. They're going to say your children in imminent danger. If they let them in your home, they'll say your children in imminent danger. They'll make up stories. Then they'll lead you on. You go through. You're supposed to get the next thing to, if they take your children, a safety plan about where the children are going to live for the next couple months, because it won't be over in a couple weeks or a couple months. It's terrible. Mine was 3 years old. It took from 2015, 2017 till I got my children back. Somebody says I've been talking for 21 years. I said, wow, geez, the child's too old. He's no longer a young one. That's another thing I need to tell you guys out there. Be careful, because some of these, not only are they concerned about children, but part of social service deals with the seniors. The seniors, ones that are adult seniors that are not doing too well. And they intervene and try to do protection. Also, they try to do adults, people over 18, under 55, I think is what the age is. And they do adult protection with these individuals. And a lot of these adults that have special needs problems have to be taken care of, and the parents are usually the best because they have been taken care of. So you got a lot of quirks that CPS is involved in, and you're going to be. That's why you need that attorney. That rule number one. That's why you need the attorney. There's no question about that. Samantha's going to reschedule another evening. She's going to send an email. In fact, Grace, if you hear me, if you could send an email to Samantha that she wants to be on my show and tell her to contact you with an email. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. It's on the ticket at the bottom of the screen. It's on the ticket at the bottom of the screen. So, you're faced with a lot of problems right here because they're going to get in your home illegally. They're going to say your child has to go. Then they'll put them in a shelter or a group home. Put them in a hotel. And some are even flying them out of state. I noticed that in Georgia, they're flying a bunch of the youth, the young children, to Texas. They have mental health problems because they can't deal with it in Georgia. It's complex. You have your low class of people that are struggling. And if they have children, their children are going to be struggling too. And they're always picked on by CPS. They love low income, uneducated parents they can take advantage of. Now, they took advantage of me, and I'm educated. And one time I was not low income. I had a beautiful home. But I thought I could trust them. See, a lot of people trust the police. A lot of people trust CPS. And I agree. They're supposed to be a good government agency. You're supposed to trust them. It's like you trust the President of the United States. Or you trust your senators or congressmen. But it seems like there's a lot of people with a lot of problems. So I'm telling you, do not trust them. Do not. In fact, that leads me to my rule number 3. I'll talk about rule number 2 in a second. But rule number 3, do not talk to policemen. You do not talk to social workers. You don't let them in your home. You don't let them take your child from your home. And you don't let them take your child from your birth room. Now, there's this sad story where CPS workers are rushed in, grab the child with the umbilical cord still attached, and try and run out of the room with it. I know that sounds gross, but the stories where a mother just had the child and in watched the social worker to grab up that child. In fact, one case I was talking to not too long ago was a grandmother who was taking care of her young children for her daughter who was going through special surgery at the hospital, at the Boston hospital there. And the social workers found out that she was not taking care of the children. She had a good reason not to because she had to go for the surgery, so she made arrangements with her grandmother. Well, social workers decided to get in and get involved, and they went to Rhode Island and took her 2 grandchildren from the grandparents. They didn't know what to say. You see, when social workers speak, everybody jumps. They're scared. They're intimidating. So is the police. When you see the police with flat jackets on, combat boots, ready to put you on the ground and in cuffs, that's a poor image of policemen. Or the guns out and they shoot to kill, not shoot to wound. And I know it's sad out there because so many policemen have been killed or murdered. So it's a hard thing. We need police. We need child protection. But we need to have it so that it's fair. It shouldn't be assumed that all people, it's like with the blacks. They said all blacks commit crimes. Well, that's too generalized. That's too generalized. That is way, way too generalized. So, with that being said, you just got to be really careful. Yeah, hi, China Perez. Glad to have you in here. I don't know what city or state you're from, but appreciate if you tell me. So far, we've had Samantha Blanco, were some grandparents that wanted to get their daughter's children back, but they've been adopted by foster care. And she tried to talk on the show, but she said her reception was not all that good. So we had two of you text me, and thank you, Joanne. I don't know where you're from, but that's nice words to say. Oh, you're from Troy, New York, China. That is great. That is great. And I'm glad you're on the show tonight. I know it's late in New York. You're 3 hours ahead of me. I know you're going to try to stay awake, and I'll try to keep it entertaining for you. I don't know if I can do much amusement on the show, but I can try to make it. I agree, China. I agree. It is sad. You know, China says this. It's sad that the people that are supposed to protect you can't trust them. You cannot trust them. Oh, Jan is Angelino's mom. Okay. Well, I'm glad to see the connection there. I'm glad to see the connection. Joanna's been on her show, so that is good. That is good. Oh, Joanne, you're from Rhode Island. Now I know. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see the connection. I'm glad you're back. Yes, you can call in. Sure, I'd love to have you. The phone number is, let me hide that message, 626-698-0990. And I was just talking about rule number 3, where you just don't let them in. They'll use you, anything they see against you. They're bad about that. And they will take your child because they say your child's in imminent danger. China Perez says, hey, Joanne, I guess she wants you for something. Hello. Hello. Okay, do you hear me okay?
Yes, I got this with Angelina.
All right. You are Joanne?
Yeah, we have you live on the TV. I'm just getting out of that room.
All right. Glad to hear from you. So what is your question?
Yes, thank you. So I'm with my mom right now. And coincidentally, I was bringing up into how the children from Massachusetts, our case, I was admitted back into Boston to the hospital. And I had to fear that something was going to happen if I stayed through with my plan of getting my feelings just very back up to speed and getting myself taken care of.
Yes.
I started getting harassed by social workers trying to talk to me in the hospital again. And I just didn't know if you could share any thoughts on how to, my health is very comparative to my equivalent to how I take care of my children, which is almost now alive and well. How can they be, right?
Yes.
However, because of the traumatic experience I had last year at the same time, it's like giving me and I'm watching it happen all over again where these mandated reporters, they're trying to use trying to talk and trying to make their way into the picture as profiling me and trying to talk to me, and the DCF social worker that just doesn't even have a license. She has a certificate. She thinks she's a mental health worker. They came into the hospital and she contacted the hospital and got information without my permission or me releasing that hospital to give it to her. And then she showed up at the hospital and was telling them that I needed to be evaluated also on substance evaluation, because she said that her and I talked about it already while I was in there. I told that I was still getting not only my two feedings for my gastroparesis adjusted, but also a full workup, because she thinks on her behalf they believe I'm not taking my medication that's prescribed, or maybe I'm taking substances outside. So she recommended that. Now the hospital took that recommendation, and it was a hospitalist who's on like the, they can have mandated reporter to another mandated reporter, money takebacks involved, and they literally turned it from like the nurse went from taking care of me to thinking they were bullying me, and like I was getting taken, like I was literally getting. I woke up at 3 in the morning and I was confused, and it was a reaction to the medication that they gave me, which was like the high blood pressure medicine when my blood pressure was actually low. So it made me start hallucinating. I was asking for help. I was calling for my mom, and I was like, "Mom, no, you're not at home. You're not at your mom's." And I thought the person next to my in the same room was my mom. So I said, "Mom," and they were like, "Listen, okay, you went into your neighbor's house and you left your heart monitor on her." If I was the person that was next door to me, she didn't speak any English, and she was an older woman. And I that woman, and she didn't need to speak any language. I was, it's so nice to have you here. So I know the truth because I can't hear my mouth. I guess I was talking to her, calling her mom, and I was thinking that my mom was calling me. And it was from the medication that they gave me by accident. They wanted to do it unless my blood pressure hit a certain point. So to cover it up, they went ahead and they were telling me that I was a psychopath. And they went and called the police while I was in the hospital because they already had talked to the social worker at the DCF in Massachusetts. And when they had no right to violate it, they were proof that I'm not abusing substances, but they were trying to reenact this picture of me using substances, and that's why I was hallucinating and confused and was looking for my mom when I'm in a hospital. It's traumatized. I'm traumatized.
Right.
And so me looking for my mom was not, and I don't know what to do to protect myself anymore. By a protection agency that's to protect the family, even children, because if they can't protect the one who's my children's protector, they're not protecting anything but their own
Well, it is agreed. CPS has agreed. Yeah, they have agreed. Yeah, CPS has agreed. It's called money.
And they're making it insane.
And they don't care about anybody. They don't care about your children. They don't care about grandparents. They don't care about mothers or fathers or anything else. They only want to do is alienate your children from you and traffic your children into foster care. And trafficking is illegal. Alienation is illegal. The thing is, the mistake you're making is you can't talk to social workers in Boston. You can't talk to them whether you're in Rhode Island or Boston or anywhere.
Yeah, I refuse to talk to them.
You just have to stop and say, I need to talk to my attorney. You need to tell your attorney, and he'll tell you, he or she will tell you what to say. Yeah. So the problem is that if they wanted,
is it unheard of to get a no contact letter on the social worker or a no abuse letter, so they can't harass me, they can't violate? Like, how are they? You know what I mean?
Well, if you don't talk to them, if you don't talk to them, how are they going to know anything? You understand? So if you,
they called the police on me because I wouldn't talk to them.
That's fine. They can call the police. They're doing intimidations. They're doing intimidation. The police can't make you talk either. You have the right to tell them, I need to speak to my attorney. You can solve this by just saying, I have a right to speak to my attorney. And after my attorney, I can talk to you, but not until I talk to my attorney. They probably know.
And I said that, and I recorded it. As much as I was out of it, I was recording it, and I ended up tripping over my on the floor, on the they have my IV pulled too far from my bed, and I fell off the bed, and they told my IV fell out, and there was still IV in my arm, but the other part of it broke out, and they tried to give me the story to the cop that I'm it didn't even matter what they told the cop. They should never have took it to the part where, because I'm not willing to talk to the social worker, that I'm not willing to not have my rights exercised, and I'm not willing to cooperate with injustice here, that you're going to go do more injustice.
Well, first of all, social workers are not supposed to be in the police. I mean, in the hospital. Police are not supposed to be in the hospital. The only time police are in the hospital if it was a dangerous crime where maybe you shot somebody or you're a threat to other people because of a firearm or something like that. But because you're on drugs and your drugs are legal, does not make any difference at all. They can't force you to talk. They can't, they have to arrest you. A policeman would have to arrest you for doing something. And all I've heard so far from your mother and you, that you're in the hospital having some work done and you put your children with your mom who lived in Rhode Island. And they should never come over. They're out of jurisdiction. They're out of state. They're out of state. And if your mom knew the rules, knew everything, she would not open the door. She wouldn't talk to them. They have to have a warrant before they search you or go into your home. Or
touch my stuff.
they
Yes, exactly.
have to have it. And so the easiest way to diffuse this, is tell them you have an attorney and you need to talk to them. Or my attorney advised me not to say anything. You can contact, if you have an attorney, just give them the number and the name. To give them the number and the name, because you do not have to talk to them.
I think I need an attorney. I think it's.
And yes,
I know, especially me being in the hospital with being with a new medication that they were trying with me, for my heart, to take my heart rate down. Then they gave me blood pressure medicine. Then they put they accidentally gave me a couple maybe I may air for nausea. It can make you hallucinate if it's known. I mean, it's scopolamine patch. You look it up, but they had 3 of them behind my ear, and they're trying to cover up their ass, excuse the language, but their side of things when I'm the patient in the forefront of the job.
They're just trying to get their money. You see, yeah, every social worker is given a bonus. Now, there was $389,000 that disappeared in the social services coffers in Kentucky. They investigated and they don't have any whereabouts for $389,000. $389,000, almost $250,000. Social workers is $1 billion business. It's a known fact. In my county, where my children were taken, they got $20,000 per child per month. That's way too much. I had 3 children. So that was $60,000 that they were taken from the federal government. And the federal government's out of money. Every time, they're good to September, but every time that there's a crunch, you wonder where all the money's going. Well, part of the problem with the federal government, they have nobody managing their money. And that's not the only area where money's being stolen. It's being stolen not only in social service, it's being stolen in Social Security. And it's stolen in fraudulent research projects. There's a church group in Utah that conned the federal government to give them a grant to come up with alternative fuel. And they've had this money go for years. And to date, they've not produced 1 drop of fuel. But they get millions of dollars every year. And there's no account. Right now, we have no accountability. People are spending. The government is charging, the military is charging the government $100 for a toilet seat. That's wrong. You don't charge $100 for a toilet seat. I mean, there's so misappropriate funds in so many different areas. Social service is corrupt. Social service is corrupt. And they're being further impacted by the open immigration we have here. More people are coming to this country for food, for shelter, for free education, for free medical, and for a job. We guarantee all those things. You come to California, we'll start you McDonald's at $16.50 an hour. We'll give you an apartment, and we'll have your kids enroll into the Los Angeles School District. And we'll give you $500 a month for food. And we'll start you off with some money for clothes. That is a person who comes in the country that's not even registered. They're giving it so far. I mean, I've talked to people that have come into the country firsthand. It's not that I'm hearing this from hearsay or Jerusalem. There's a guy in Mexico City. He's 45 right now. Did I lose you? Hello?
Yes, I was just I thought this when I got disconnected.
Yes, you did.
I
Yes, you did. I'm so sorry. I thought you were still connected. This is Joanna, right?
My phone. I don't know if it's like because of my service or what. But, are you able to hear me?
I hear you fine. Is your name Joanna? Oh boy. Well, I'm going to reboot my phone because maybe there's something wrong with that. I will reboot it because my phone is probably doing that. Joanne, still bear with me. We'll get you reconnected here. We'll get you reconnected. Yeah, we should never panic. It will get you. I'm rebooting my phone and I'll try to call Joanna back and see if I can get her. Okay, I'm live again. Hello? 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 This is Bob Pace.
Oh, I can hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yes, Angelina.
Yeah,
I can
okay.
hear you much better. I could not hear you before. I apologize.
Well, I apologize too. I had to reboot my phone to see if that fixes it.
Hey, at least we have reliability on our network, right? You can count somewhere.
I guess. Okay.
All right.
Well, you were trying to ask me a question. And I was trying to tell you that, it's very difficult when you talk to social workers because they use everything you say against you.
Correct.
And I try to tell my rule number 3 is you do not talk to social workers, you do not talk to police, you don't let them in your home, you don't let them in your birth room, and you don't let them in your hospital room. You just ask the doctor. It's your right. You're a patient at the hospital. You have a right to privacy. And if the doctor's dumb enough to let someone in that's not a family member, then you need to call the manager of the hospital or the director of the hospital and do a complaint. When you go to the hospital, They always ask you, are you a family member? Only family members are supposed to be in, and the patient needs to be stress-free. A social worker and a policeman in his combat boots and tactful uniform is not very pleasant. It's very intimidating. Policemen are intimidating. That's why they need to be. They try to strike fear in people. That shouldn't be.
Correct.
They should not be. But they strike fear, and you do stupid things, and you admit things are not true. There should be if you had placed your children with your grandmother, that's temporary custody, and the sole reason why is you need to go to the hospital to get treatment.
Correct.
There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to ask for permission from anybody. You have the parental rights to tell that your family member can take care of that child, because you couldn't watch and supervise that child. If you didn't watch and supervise, then you'd be neglect. You'd be neglect. And that's what they're trying to frame you on. They're trying to frame you on neglect, and also that you're under the influence of drugs, because the medication you're taking, they say, is a legal substance. And if your doctor can write a report that the medication you're taking are legal and they're for this treatment of something there, then social workers should shut up. But the thing is, you need to get an attorney. And that attorney will take care of it. The attorney will say, I'm sorry, I'm representing this client. And right now, until my client gets better, I don't think you need to talk to him. As far as where her daughter is, it's none of your business. All you need to know is that she's in good hands. She's with a family member. A family member can watch your children. Now, if a family member is abusive to the children will say something. The children will say something. So if there's a family member being abusive to children, then yes, that needs to be addressed. But from talking to your mother, I found her to be very wonderful speaking, very caring and loving mother. And I found you to be a loving mother too. Oh no, I've lost you. Oh God. Tonight's not the night for phone calls. I'll try again. Okay. Are you there? Oh. Okay, if you can hear me, it's dialing, but it says call unknown. So, oh brother. Okay, well, we've had some technical difficulties for the first time in all my shows, so bad that either my phone's not working or the person that's calling his phone not working. And usually it does work. I'm just have to keep trying here. So we were talking about to Joanne, who's a mother who was in the hospital getting some work done. She was taking specialized drugs, and CPS thought the mother was on the influence of illegal drugs. and that her children were in danger, except that she made arrangements to have the child at her mom's place in another state. And the CPS were so bold to go from Boston, Massachusetts to Rhode Island and abduct the children, steal the children. They got away with it. They got away with it. That's how corrupt they are. That's how illegal they are. So I've given you now rule number 3, which I've given some examples there. Now, rule number 2 is the notebook. And that's something you need to write down all the incidents that happen in your CPS case. And it should be devoted to nothing but CPS in there. So on the first line, you write in the date and the time. And on the same line, write in the number of people, the names of people, who was involved with the incident. The second line or third line should be the description of the incident. If it takes 2 lines, use it. And then the line after that should be the outcome. What happened? You may have to come back and write that later, so you need to leave a couple lines there. Then after that whole incident, you skip a couple lines and put in the next incident and the next incident. And that way you can come back to those gaps to add more things if you want to. So it's really, really important that you write down everything. So I've given you 3 important rules in there. And, the people that called in tonight, I want to thank you, China Perez and Joanne Androli Rotondo. You two, she's from Rhode Island, Joanne is. And China Perez is from New York, Troy, New York. And then we had Samantha Blanco, who lives in Coos Bay, Oregon, and her grandchildren in California, and she's wondering if we can get them back. There's so many stories out there, and I wish I had a longer time to talk about it because I have a lot of topics here. I talk about the 3 basic rules, but I have like a 3A motion. I have the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act for all you Indian children out there. I have the Health and Welfare Code. I have, how you file complaints. And I have lots of topics I can talk about that can make your case go better. I feel really, really bad that you're involved with them because it's a nightmare. It was a nightmare for me. I lost my daughter, but I was able to get back my 2 sons. So we have about 3 minutes or 2 minutes left, and I want to thank you. I apologize for the connection to these 2 people that tried to call in, and somehow my phone is it's the first time I ever have happened. It's fully charged, but I use an online program called Vonage for my phone. It's a streaming application. And sometimes not the best. I believe in hard wires. It's so sad because the phone should be hooked up to a hard wire. And I just want you all to keep trying to get your children back. Don't give up. I care about you. I want you not to give up. All of you, thank you so much for your thumbs up, thumbs down, smiley faces, hearts, whatever. Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to listen. And I'll see you then tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I'm on. That will be Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Hopefully one of you will be my guest on the show. I'd love to have somebody. So, keep working at it. Don't give up. God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.